Welcome back, everyone, to the coverage of the European Championship 2024. We are here in round 2 of the World Championship playoff. The point system accumulated by all of the players this season are now culminating in this tournament. Thanks for joining us again. With us is Tom Payne and Sebastian. And yeah, round 2, we've got a very interesting match, don't we, Tom?
Yeah, this is going to be super interesting. This is a deck that I first saw at the UK National Championships in the form of Labyrinth with Simultaneous Equation Cannon. I think it's a super cool card. A lot of players playing Labyrinth, they thought, you know, I really just need to find 1 or 2 extra traps, normal traps that are really powerful going second. And maybe this card may have been written off at the first. Maybe people just couldn't understand what it did, which is very possible.
Totally. And also, it's only fitting that I'm sitting here with the 2 UK guys in the booth, because also the only UK player in the entire playoff is going to make his way into the featured match here, because we are going to see Gabriel Netz versus Pierre Burgals, who's bringing the Labyrinth deck. So I think let's not waste any further time, because we, of course, want to see how they are going to how this one is going to turn out. So let's go over to the table. Round number 2 of the playoffs starting now.
It's very interesting because I've been talking to Gabe yesterday, actually giving me a little crash course on the new Fiendsmith incorporation in Snake Eye. And it's quite hilarious because he very much optimized completely for the mirror match. And here he is versus Labyrinth, side deck and everything. So I'm a little bit worried for him if he loses this dice roll here.
He didn't, though. He did win, in fact, the die roll, so he should be at least in a somewhat comfortable position, because he will be able to go off first. But, of course, Pierre is including a couple of cards that could already ruin his enjoyment of his first turn. But so far, at least no Dimension Shifter, I guess.
That's a very good start. Snake Eye Ash is how you want to begin your game here, and Snake Eye Ash being a 1-card combo, utilizing even further than that the Fiendsmith engine, usually used to complement and help boost your resilience versus disruption. Most likely not going to see any of that come down from Labyrinth, more of a set 5 and feel safe. And yeah, hopefully Gabriel is going to give us a demonstration of what a full combo looks like. Now, full combo is going to maybe if he's aware that he's playing against Labyrinth, it could potentially result in a different type of end field, something like Apollosa, maybe not as viable or not as important against the trap deck.
I do agree.
Do you think Gabe knows?
I don't know. That's the thing. I mean, it's really strange, you know, such a close knit kind of tiny tournament like this.
Let's be real. Everyone knows everything in this kind of a tournament. It's 16 players. You have your friends with you here at the European Championship. You are going to know what the other players are on. So I don't think it's a secret for Gabriel here. And additionally to that, he has a history with the Labyrinth deck as well. He himself made top card of a YCS in the season with the Labyrinth strategy. So I think he actually even is in a bit of an advantage knowing where to interrupt with the deck and those kind of things. And therefore, even though his deck isn't tailored towards the matchup, I can see him actually still getting out of this successfully.
It's still, you know, going to be a somewhat of a standard combo here, regardless of, you know, what his opponent is playing. It can be understated just how powerful it is to end on Apollosa, SP Little Knight from the Masquerena with your Flamberge and Temple up. Of course, as well, now incorporating the Fiendsmith portion of the deck, that's also going to have a Desiree, most likely, as part of that end field component to negate those trap cards being flipped face up.
Yeah, and there we just saw casual Link 2 into Moon of the Closed Heaven, and of course that is going to be the connection between the 2 parts of the deck. We are going to go from the Snake Eye cards into the Fiendsmith cards. Requiem is being used, searching out the Fiendsmith Engraver, and then Gabriel will also do things with that, I guess.
We always talk about these free card effects when it comes to Snake Eye, and one of the cool things that the Fiendsmith engine offers is the Requiem equipping, just for no real reason. I mean, the idea is that it, you know, can help your Desiree gain its effect, but in Snake Eye you can send it with your Ash, can't you?
Yeah, that's a very real reason. You know, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, the Snake Eye cards, it seems like a sort of specific thing that they love interact with monsters in the spell and trap card zone, but because a lot of their cards just are happy to make use of anything you have lying around, like they interact really well with a lot of other engines.
Yeah, there's Snake Eye Oak, and Gabriel must feel good at the moment, knowing that so far no interruption has came down from Pierre, because the only real interruption would have been a preemptive one with that Dimension Shifter, and that may have just shut down his entire turn, but he's happily comboing through here. And I think that IP Masquerena is definitely going to be a main part of his win condition of his playstyle against the Labyrinth strategy, because I think you have to definitely put that IP Masquerena at least into the spell and trap zone as part of your end field, then summon it out on the opponent's turn through a Flamberge, which you probably should also keep on the field to do exactly that. And then you would have the way to, at the end of the main phase, maybe banish one of those set cards of the Labyrinth deck. I think we kind of have to do that for sure.
You can see there's a critical point here just before the Celine is linked away into Apollousa, is usually where you would want a Nibiru, but you can see, of course, Gabriel is still respecting Nibiru by leaving the Flamberge unresolved, still on the field here, so that if that critical point just before Apollousa is summoned, Flamberge will be able to float in worst case scenario. You're still going to have SP into IP into SP as a last resort.
You'd also get that Oak out of the spell and trap card zone, right? So he's completely set up.
Yeah, it's just probably so deep into his playstyle already implemented. He tested for weeks for this tournament. He already won the first round, so his way to Worlds, to the World Championship is already off to a good start. So you're just going to do it as per usual. You're just going to do it the way it worked the last couple of weeks as well, and therefore he's just going to do it like that here too. Just having that Apollousa up there on the field, even though it's not going to be massively impactful against the Labyrinth deck.
Let's talk a little bit about Labyrinth. So losing the dice roll is obviously quite important. It's not really where you want to be, but of course Pierre and any Labyrinth player will of course want to try and build their deck in such a way that it offers you options into a full combo field like this, because trap decks tend to kind of focus on incorporating a lot of their traps being activated together. And so opting to just, not play any hand traps so that you can maximize on the number of just blowout trap cards that you can activate going second. Things like the Daruma Cannon and, of course, that Simultaneous Equation Cannon, which has been so popular recently.
I think it's a very, very interesting choice for that kind of a tournament, for that kind of a small tournament. And unfortunately, not really for Pierre, because he came out on top, but for his opponent more, which was Daniel Hartmann in the first round. They played against each other as the two Labyrinth duelists in the top 16 playoff we have here. So quite of an unfortunate start there for Daniel, but Pierre, he wasn't the only person choosing this deck for the tournament, and I think it's a good call. And I mean, when you look at the last year's playoff, for example, Dinkabui also did it with Labyrinth, so why not come back with that deck again and just make your way to the World Championship one more time. And Pierre, I think his turn is going to be a little shorter than the one we just saw from Gabriel, because Pierre is currently debating which cards to set, I'm assuming.
You can tell when a Labyrinth player is about to do that, because the hand, it sort of creates this wall on the field, and then they just go whoop, drop it down, and then 5 cards hit the spell and trap zone.
But I think you can be a little tactical here with the setting, because you can just set some cards, then announce the end of main phase, and then Gabriel has to think whether he wants to get that IP into SP play out, and then you might just set more cards, or you just set 5 and still enjoy the process. Because now Gabriel is forced to go for the IP into SP Little Knight play, and then Pierre can still work with the last card he has in hand. So I think that definitely works out well.
Yeah, so I think Pot of Duality is actually in Pierre's hand, so he's most likely going to activate this at the resolution of Gabriel performing these end of main summons with the IP Masquerena SP, trying to snipe something in the process here.
Unexpected but nice sight seeing those 5 cards there at the spell and trap zone of Pierre, to be honest. I like this already. And I mean, let's just imagine one of them is Skill Drain, and then there also maybe is a Solemn Strike to protect against the Desiree. That would be very, very strong, even though the field of Gabriel definitely is impressive. Okay, we're banishing 1 card here. What is it?
Rolling a dice to just randomly pick
one. It is the Daruma Cannon, which is also a good hit for sure.
I mean, in terms of going second trap cards, that is one of the best you can have against Snake Eye specifically. So Pierre's going to be really upset about that, unless this is potentially multiples he's got back there.
Okay, so we also resolved the graveyard effect of Flamberge, which was, of course, linked off here. And we got back some monsters. We're also creating resources for the next turn. That's why the Snake Eye strategy is so strong, because not only the field is really, really, really good, but also just in the process of now interacting with your opponent on the opponent's turn, you're already setting up your next turn as well with multiple resources.
Do you think there's any point, if that's a Pot of Duality, in activating it?
Yeah, because the Desiree will just negate it, I suppose, is what you're thinking, right?
Fair.
Might as well just have it set as a potential bluff to try have it sniped by Phoenix potentially.
Yeah, Gabriel just drew for turn. It's Gabriel's turn again.
Yep.
I mean, maybe Pierre, if he knew what the most important card was in his hand, maybe he kept that one, and he was sort of, bluffing and hoping that this would happen, and then he could set the most important card knowing it wouldn't be
Probably, yeah. I think that's a very good point. Strategy-wise, probably the card he kept in hand is the best one. I'm absolutely agreeing with you, because then it definitely doesn't get banished and he can surely set it down there.
It's a bit of a gambit, though, because your opponent just passes, then you've left your best card in your hand.
But how likely is that? Let's be real.
Yeah, I think with so many back row, potentially, you want to try hit something like a skill drain, a Daruma Cannon.
For sure.
So yeah, I think it's still the correct call to go through that. Gabriel does just have game on the field here, so I mean, we could just like put everything to attack and attack, because of course there is the risk of running into something like Torrential Tribute.
What
that sounds like a potential risk, but actually it's a real risk here, because Pierre is including that trap card again, like triple Torrential Tribute in his deck. The return of one of the most original trap cards, and we are in the battle phase indeed. Gabriel attacking with SP Little Knight here.
What's funny, I feel like sometimes people count their summons or something, and now you ask your opponent how many cards in hand.
Oh, there immediately is the Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. That's a strong card. Gabriel is running so many.
We could. I just want to point out that we do have a simultaneous equation cannon set there.
Do we?
So, yeah,
we're just working for the right numbers here.
Yeah, we need the Desiree to use its effect, and then we can chain the simultaneous. Actually, does Desiree negate on resolution? It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, okay. So we need the Desiree to be used, and then we can try and force through the simultaneous equation cannon, which again, we're going to have to do.
That one is being dealt with. SP Little Knight still trying to attack. And Pierre's, as you can see, he's really doing the math. He's actually doing the math. This card is so funny. Let's actually get it up on screen for a quick moment, right? That equation cannon.
Yeah.
It's a pretty recent card, the simultaneous equation cannon, and it actually requires you to really figure out how many cards in total are on the field right now, and how you combine that with the levels and ranks of your monsters in the extra deck.
Tell us a little bit about the math, Tom, because you're the
math guy here, Tom.
You are the doctor.
I mean, it is a simultaneous equation. You do have two equations to solve, right? You've got your XYZ and your fusion. They have to add to a level, and then 2 times the XYZ in the fusion has to add to the total cards. I think Gabriel's actually played around it. Like, he's got a lot of cards in his hand. I suppose you'd have to target the Desiree with the cannon, because I think if you've only got like a tiny level monster on the field and then lots of cards in your hand, you'd have to have like an XYZ that was level 12 or something.
Yeah, it's just so many cards, right? So I think Pierre actually needs to reduce the number of his own cards right now to even get into the range of resolving the equation cannon.
Yeah, he's just taking damage.
It's such a... okay, right.
Oh, Pierre. Yeah. There's Ice Dragon's Prison, which honestly, looking at the trap cards that Pierre is running, is, to my personal understanding, one of the more low-impact cards he actually has in there. Because as we saw, he's running Torrential Tribute, he's running the Daruma Cannon, he's running the Equation Cannon. And like, all of these are there to get the entire field off of the field for the opponent. But this one is just trading with one card on the field. So
yeah, so the idea with like having like set 5 like this, the theory behind it is you're trying to like eliminate the biggest threats, which in this case will be the Desiree, trying to force out negates from it, so then you can chain your bigger removal spells, trap cards. So that's why Ice Dragon is still played until now.
I think we did negate that, right? Because it didn't resolve at all, and there now is a trap trick, which is basically any normal trap we could imagine in our deck. But that also will mean that we can only activate one more trap card for the rest of the turn then.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the most important restriction on Trap Trick, is normally you want to deplete all your traps down, get maximum value out of those, and then you have a further Trap Trick to try and get you into either some engine or the big heavy hitter with something like the Daruma Cannon or Torrential in response to something to try and clear the field. It's not going to be that just yet, but it will...
It's got to be Daruma Cannon, right?
Probably. I was just about to ask, what are we going for? We already have the Equation Cannon, so apparently that one is not what we want. So the other one that can deal with this has to be the Daruma Cannon. I totally agree.
I wonder what the other attack we took was other than the
I think we're going for Big Welcome Labyrinth. That's what we do. So maybe the last card already... Wait, we kind of know what the other cards are, right? Because we saw that Pot of Duality.
Yeah, it's Duality, Simultaneous Equation, and the Big Welcome now.
Is this just the sort of cheesy, I'm just going to sit on my lady and you can't...
But the lady can't even summon with the Appaloosa on the field.
Yeah. That's the problem. Activates the lady in hand, gets negated, and
that's it, I think. Oh no, we're packing up the cards. Gabriel Netz takes down game number 1 with the big advantage, of course, of going first here. Even though the matchup, when we look at his list, really doesn't look too favorable. He found some pretty good cards there as well with the Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, which is like literally the only hand hitter actually has in his deck, which really is providing any value. And therefore, he's one step closer to being 2-0 in this tournament. So it's still on his way.
It's very fortunate to have the big big field, which, you know, Labyrinth can kind of deal with it. Weirdly enough, it's Ash Blossom of all cards that actually hurts you the most compared to, you know, the Mask, SP, Apollousa, which, although mentioning that Apollousa was used on the Lady in the hand after added from the Big Welcome, why do you think Big Welcome was the trap of choice from Trap Trick?
Yeah.
I'm a bit confused. I mean, I guess the problem is if you activate Daruma Cannon, like 2 monsters get banished from SP.
Sure.
The little fire monsters hadn't been summoned this turn, so you could just flip them up again. So, it deals with the battle phase, but it's basically a threatening roar at this point, and maybe that's just not enough to win the game, right? Your opponent can just pick off some more of your face down with a Nightmare Phoenix.
So we just gambled on the fact that he does forget about the Apollousa.
I don't know. Like, nothing feels good, does it?
Yeah, true. It was an unfortunate situation overall, for sure. But I mean, now the situation is going to be so much better with him going first, with having all the trap cards still in his deck. And also, before we went to record this, we checked out the deck list of Gabriel Netz. In his side deck, usually you would have some spots occupied with Cosmic Cyclone or Harpy's Feather Duster or Lightning Storm, but no, none of that actually.
Yeah, we talked about this last round, didn't we, Tom, where we specifically said that because of the optimization for specifically the mirror match, maybe some Yubel or Tenpai,
True.
no respect whatsoever being afforded to something like Stun or the anti-meta choices like Labyrinth, Netz could potentially be punished for that.
Yeah, I mean, he's showing like maximum disrespect in his side deck. There is just nothing.
He's like, I can handle it. I mean, here in game one, he did handle it, but the situation is not going to get much better because Pierre still has a really, really good main deck now going first. Like you would normally, if you expect things to go normal, expect him to do well here in the second game. And in the third game, he can actually rely on a couple of cards from his side deck, which are going to be pretty impactful because I'm seeing cards like Lava Golem and such here in his side deck, and those can deal with big fields as well. And therefore, I think this could still, even though Gabriel is ahead, this might become very, very intense still.
Yeah, I mean, trap cards, as we've seen, can be very devastating in clearing the fields. Allowing a full combo to go through like that it's always going to be... It's never going to feel like a guaranteed win, you know. Something like the Daruma Cannon can obviously deal with the huge field, but once they've established that SP Little Knight to be able to dodge, as you said, scooping up in that situation, maybe it's just delaying the inevitable. So going second in game 3 is going to be a bit of a uphill battle. But we're into game number 2 now. The players are ready. They're about to begin. Let's head on over to the table and see if Pierre can take a game back out of this one.
And there we have them. Gabriel, of course, with the 1 next to his name, as he did win that first game, and now Pierre. Let's see how long this turn takes. Okay, we're at least activating a spell card this time, and that is Pot of Duality into Pot of Prosperity if we want that. And I mean, having another peek at 6 more cards doesn't sound too bad. But on the other hand, we kind of have to give up options for our equation cannon then if we go into the Prosperity, but that apparently is what we're going to do.
Yeah, this is truly mind-bending using Prosperity with the equation cannon extra deck.
Do we still play like Ariana?
No.
No, it's literally just the... okay, wow,
so
incredible.
I think lately just triple Lady Labyrinth of Silver Castle was a way to play the deck, but instead Pierre actually went with the approach of playing double Lady Labyrinth of the Silver Castle, and of course still the lovely Labyrinth, let's not forget about that, and he replaced the third Lady Labyrinth with 1 Stowy Torby sitting in there.
Yeah, 1 singular Stowy Torby, no Coup Clock as well, must be mentioned. Usually sometimes, even in heavy trap versions of Labyrinth, you would maybe sometimes still play the Coup Clock, but maybe a little bit more useless without the...
there is the 1 Stowy Torby. I mean, when you reveal it off of Prosperity, you may as well just play 1 of it. But there, I think, is more promising options. But of course, that does also depend on how the rest of his hand looks like.
Yeah, some decent choices here.
Goes and Match definitely grabbed my eye.
Yeah, a continuous trap card will probably do a pretty good job here, especially when your opponent has no real answer to it.
Yeah, the heavier trap version of Labyrinth, it does always make me nervous that, you know, people can run Harpy's Feather Duster, people can run Lightning Storm, and you're so much more vulnerable to these cards should they be in your opponent's deck.
And, okay, this time only 4 cards are finding their way to the Spell and Trap Zone. Let's see whether that's going to be enough to withstand the turn of Gabriel here. Pierre, is he going to do anything immediately? No. He's like, Gabriel, try your luck playing through my trap cards here.
It's not full combo, though. He only set 4.
Yeah, he's missing 1, true. He kind of messed up his combo line there, not gonna lie. But one of them is known to be Gozen Match. And yeah, the Snake Eye deck, of course, is consisting of a lot of fire cards. There we see the first one being the Snake Eye Ash, but that kind of cuts off the connection part to the Fiendsmith cards, of course, as these are more dark cards.
Yeah, and there's only so much you can do if you're, you know, obviously all of your main deck monsters are fire. Well, all of the Snake Eye monsters are fire, but the real power of the Snake Eye is going through all of your Link monsters in your extra deck, and there's, yeah, not so many fire monsters.
Yeah, and of course the Fiendsmith cards are light monsters, not dark monsters, but still a different attribute than that. And actually, I think you might as well just flip the Gozen Match preemptively here to protect against things like... Wait, you're not even protecting against Nightmare Phoenix, because you could still activate that card right now, as it's also a fire monster.
Yeah, so I was going to mention Nightmare Phoenix being a fire here. If you flip the Gozen Match, you do risk hitting it and then just continuing on with Fiendsmith from there. But maybe if you wait and let your opponent go into the Closed Heaven, then Gozen Match. Okay,
there is the Gozen Match. Okay, so that almost feels like an invitation to go for the Nightmare Phoenix, but maybe Pierre has a plan for that as well. Maybe there is a Solemn Strike and he just wants to get that Nightmare Phoenix out of the way, potentially. Let's see.
Yeah, I'd be interested, like, what he's afraid of happening, why he'd flip the Gozen Match now, because if your opponent summons something that's not a fire, then you can activate Gozen Match perfectly well.
Okay. I was going to ask maybe letting him go straight into the Closed Heaven and then using Gozen Match might have maybe been an option.
But are we going into Moon of the Closed Heaven so early is the question. We may have just gone into some other stuff first, like maybe summon out an Anima first of all, and then there already is the risk of going into SP Little Knight as well. But I mean, I guess on the summon of Anima, you could still just activate the Gozen Match and they would have one monster less. So yeah, interesting decision for sure by Pierre to just go for it so earlier. And we're summoning out the Lovely here off of the Welcome Labyrinth. Must mean that there is a trap already somewhere sitting that can deal with opponent's monsters here.
I think we're activating this now to stop your opponent getting a summon off the
from the temple.
True, you're right, you're right.
This is one of the times you need to, you know, go into your Yu-Gi-Oh! Rulings handbook and check, like, because the monsters, you know, in the summoning, the window that it would normally activate would be now. But I think because the Divine Temple wasn't actually on the field.
Totally, totally.
Or hadn't resolved yet.
So we are going for a Link to summon, and does that mean we are going to see that Nightmare Phoenix? For sure we do. Might as well be the only Link 2 he could summon at that point, because it's the only Fire Link monster in his extra deck. But that sounds like we're just going to go after the Gozen Match to me, and there is the Solemn Strike waiting for it. So for the price of 1,500 life points, we are going to protect our Gozen Match here, but on the other hand, Gabriel does not have a fire monster on the field anymore, so if he wants to go for any other attribute, he's open to now.
Yeah, crucial to do it on the summon rather than the effect, because you could otherwise block it up with the...
Yeah, the Poplar as chain link to you know, it always feels so good when you let your opponent get that discard. But yeah, as you mentioned, that's not really possible because of the ability to just protect. And from here, it's a bit of a strange situation because your only real extension play is Engraver or Diabellstar, but because of the Gozen Match, it does put you in a bit of a peculiar position. And as we mentioned, Gabriel just does not have any side deck related answers to this Gozen Match.
Well, Diabellstar does just answer the Lovely by itself, right? It can just attack and put them both in the spell and trap card zone.
Yeah, that is true. And I mean, that did almost look like a pass, because yeah, that Snake Eye Diabellstar there in the spell and trap zone can of course summon itself out, but that looks like a Fiendsmith Engraver first here. So we had access to both the engines, and we could now also go with the Fiendsmith engine, but as you just explained, that may also mean we cannot go into fire cards at all anymore.
I wonder how much you can accomplish with just the Fiendsmiths. There's quite a lot of light monsters in the extra deck now.
Yeah, I mean, they do supplement the Princess or Beatrice. Going through only light monsters, right? Even Sequence, Desiree, Lacrima, they're all light, I believe?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, okay, so...
okay, so we definitely want to go for Engraver. I think we just saw him announcing it.
It's a beast.
Oh, we are targeting the Engraver, I believe, but we're going to banish it for our own Bestial. So, goodbye, Engraver. I mean, we also have to do that, but there it is. So, that Engraver is not going to come back there from being banished. And we have decided for one of the options we completely disregarded. We didn't go for fire or for light. Here we are with Dark Monsters. And Dark Monsters, of course, would give us somewhere of an option to go into SP Little Knight eventually. But I don't think we're going to find a way to enable the summon effect of SP Little Knight to also go off. And then you might ask, how valuable is it even to go into it?
Yeah, well, we still get the Druid Worm, which can deal with the Lovely, which is always nice.
Yeah.
We really want to. We can make this just a simple game of beatdown by crashing Druid's Worm, sending Lovely, attacking with the Diabellstar, and hoping that Pierre doesn't have too much other access to engine. The Lovely was summoned on this turn. We didn't get the recursion from the graveyard, so I mean, if Pierre doesn't have more engine, we could risk just losing to direct beatdowns from Diabellstar. We'll see if he does have anything to think about before using that. You can see he's checking his extra deck, actually, right?
There's only one reason to check the extra deck.
That's a tell we see here. Pierre is doing the math. You can see it in his face. He's furiously calculating numbers there. And therefore, that equation cannon is a very likely thing that we could see here. And I mean, banishing the Druid Swarm, of course, would make sure that it doesn't activate its effect. And that, in fact, would be pretty good for him.
Can you imagine how much you would need to practice to, like, know?
Oh, it doesn't have an answer.
Infinitely, okay.
To, like, not give your opponent, like, make it extremely obvious what's in your deck.
It is going to be IP Masquerena in the end, though.
Yeah, okay, triggering the Druid's Worm to send here.
Oh, there's another Dark Monster. Magna Mode is being activated. Goodbye, Lovely.
That's the huge thing here, is once you get rid of Lovely, the grind and the resource recursion for this deck gets significantly worse.
And now we have access to SP Little Knight using the effect as well, because we found a way actually putting 2 Dark Monsters onto the field, and one of them was a Link Monster, so the Ghost match is out of it as well. Gabriel is playing this insanely well now, also being able to go into his fire monsters again. There's the Snake Eye Diabellstar. Gabriel is chilling and cruising here at the moment.
And it really is paying off with the ability to just play the most powerful deck.
Yes.
And, you know, Gabriel is, again, like I've mentioned, he very much built his deck, optimizing it for the mirror, but sometimes, you know, despite the weaknesses that can be, you know, taken advantage of by a deck like Labyrinth, just the raw power and the ceiling that Fiendsmith Snake Eye offers you, you still have answers to Goes in Match, to Strike, to all of the protections that they're throwing up at you. And yeah, Gabriel is now going to town here.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean,
yes.
We were thinking there was nothing, but apparently it's Bestials. That these were the.
Yeah,
this is the key.
Those were the answer, and not. I mean, yeah, they're obviously kind of nice for banishing the Lovely, as we just saw. But here in this scenario, it was way more important to actually get Dark Monsters onto the field, which you could use for link climbing into the SP Little Knight, making it able to out the Gozen match. So, very interesting way. Okay, we're not able to attack directly this turn because we used the effect of SP Little Knight. Okay, yeah, I think they just realized. So, we can't end it here, but still, we brought ourselves into a situation where we're even competing in this duel now.
I'd say we're more than competing, right? Pierre's only got 2 cards left.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like a really terrible position for Gabe. Once you establish Lovely, Floodgate, and the Strike to answer, one of the few answers that you have to Goes in Match.
Totally.
He must have felt like he was really in command there, but no, Gabriel circumventing through all of this with the Link Monster as a Dark from IP Masquerena, offering you the banish ability of the Little Knight and the Bestial on top of that to remove Lovely for the entire rest of the game here. I don't know what Pierre can do from here.
I mean, let's not forget that Magnamut's still on the screen there. Already in the graveyard, but still going to search another Dragon Monster in the end phase. So yeah, that Magnamut really did everything there.
Yeah, and you know, you can search some tech cards that people have been playing, like for example Phantasme, which has been really cool. But in this matchup, I think just adding
Have
back
fun with that Phantasme.
adding back Druid's Worm here, most likely going to be the card of choice.
Oh, and so we see the Celine, and actually one card that would also be pretty amazing against the Labyrinth strategy or against control strategies in general would be Access Code Talker. But now with the Fiendsmith cards in your extra deck, taking up so many spots, and Gabriel actually deciding not to side deck any extra deck cards.
Oh, he didn't side any extra?
He doesn't have any Access Code Talker in main or side deck, because that was a tendency we saw over the last weeks, that people have been starting to side deck extra deck monsters as well to like make it more than 15, kind of with including the side deck as well. But there's only the 15 extra deck cards for Gabriel and nothing else being added from the side deck there.
That is genuinely surprising. I mean, there was definitely quite a number of Snake Eye duelists from the NAWCQ with top cut spots who were bringing in things like Zalantis Phoenix going second, Access Code, even other options like Dark, the Dark Charmer being really good option for going second.
Totally.
Makes a lot of sense to me, because...
But that just feels like Appaloosa then again? Probably?
Yeah, I mean, it's still decent, you know, being able to prevent the lady from summoning itself from the hand.
You do have to be careful every time you change the number of cards, whether you're opening yourself up to get cannoned.
True. Yeah, actually we saw Pierre holding his breath for a moment and doing the math, so maybe he was bluffing that as well, which would be quite hilarious, just bluffing the cannon by doing math. I like that, actually.
Yeah, it's... I mean, I don't really know. I don't know if, like, Gabe's actively playing around it, or if... I mean, anything. It might just be Pierre's bluffing.
He's counter-mathing. I'll be honest with you, the only math that I could really do is probably just about getting to Nibiru. Simultaneous equation and that, you know, Labyrinth, can't play that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, playing it yourself is already tough, but then playing around it, like that kind of a jump I could also probably not do. But now, oh, Pierre doing the math again. I think this is going to be the simultaneous equation cannon. And we talked about the situation looking bright for Gabriel, but if there is that cannon, it could just still turn around. Adding another card to his field. Is this the moment we have enough cards on the field and hands combined for the equation cannon to come down?
You can see the moment that Gabriel thought for a second for what he was going to place in the spell and trap zone. Once you've used your SP Little Knight, what does Masquerade really offer?
Yes, that's what I was wondering too. There's literally nothing, because Phoenix would be another cool target, but we already went through this one as well, so looking for his extra deck.
Placing the Little Knight is an option?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think that would have been a lot better. Or maybe just Druid Swarm as well, like having something that actually has an impact on the field.
Cannot be understated just how powerful it is to have 3 copies of Druid Worm in your deck. One of the hand traps that I guess have been not as relevant or not as... Yeah, okay, so it was Trap Trick here.
Okay, so it was kind of a version of the equation cannon, but just a delayed way of it. A delayed version of it, so...
Yeah, so I was going to say, generally you play a lot of hand traps versus Snake Eye. Bestials weren't as popular, but now with the incorporation of the Fiendsmith engine, they've actually seen a big resurgence. Players running, you know, upwards of 6, 7 copies in their decks for multiple Baldrakes, Druid Worms, and the one Magnamut as well.
Interesting. We do go for the Ice Dragon's Prison. And we did such not even activated in the end phase.
Yeah, that's interesting, not even activating it.
I think the real reason here is we want to get rid of a monster to then set back the Welcome Labyrinth, right? Maybe that was our weird way of getting to Engine, but we could have also just gotten to Engine through the Trap Trick, just setting a big Welcome Labyrinth or something like that.
It's quite cunning from Pierre, because, I mean, he has been thinking about the equation cannon the whole time, but it was not the equation cannon all along. Like, he was genuinely thinking about whether he could resolve it, but he never actually had it.
Do you know there's like a spreadsheet out there somewhere for
I'm sure there's
for the mathematics involved with, like, you know, if there's a 6 on the field, this is what you need to banish. If there's a 7, etc. You know, that's
okay. So
it's something.
Is the
you can banish the Magnamut because it's the same type.
Yep. Getting rid of the Flamberge here.
Okay, Welcome Labyrinth being set back, so we accomplished that part of getting into our engine again as well. Setting 2 more cards, and honestly, it looked way better for him in the first turn, but this still looks fine if you ask me, because Gabriel now really used up so many of his way to deal with back rows, so maybe there's just no more stuff to deal with an additional skill drain or something like that if Pierre managed to draw into that.
Yeah, we've had a big swing between both players in this duel here, and time is ticking. Do keep an eye on that. We are almost going to be hitting single digits soon, so that is a very important thing to consider. Gabriel does want to be in a position to just, you know, take this one down. But there is always the option of going to game 3 and getting to go first and winning with a battle phase. The option and time for that is starting to tick down here, but Gabriel's still looking very confident that he's able to still win this game. The most important cards have been dealt with already at this point, but our extra deck is getting slowly but surely depleted in its resources.
Absolutely. So we see another way of the Snake Eye deck to recover resources and also give us follow-up. We use the effect of original Sinful Spoil's Snake Eye to put that Poplar underneath the deck and get ourselves a new copy of Snake Eye Ash to start our place all over again. But it has to be noted that the Flamberge is now banished through the Ice Dragon's Prison. And originally, at the beginning of Snake Eye times, we were always running double Flamberge Dragon. But now, with so many of the Fiendsmith cards also finding their way into the deck, and also Snake Eye's DL Bellstar being around, this card now is a one-off, and therefore Gabriel is not going to be able to recover that Flamberge Dragon anymore.
Super cool draw of Wanted there as well,
Yeah.
getting to put back your original. But I totally agree with you that there's just it really shuts down some of the deck's sort of potential if you lost the Flamberge. Like, how much worse would a Snake Eye deck be if you had to put it in a tournament without Flamberge in your deck? Like,
Absolutely. All right, so Poplar is still having a search target, or having a search target again by putting that original Snake Eye, Sinful Sports Snake Eye back. And I mean, he can't use the on-field effect of this anymore now, as he already used the graveyard effect, but still it's going to be a way to play on the upcoming turn still, if there is an upcoming turn though, still for Gabriel, because he probably would be very well advised trying to end this game here on this turn, because the longer this game goes, I think the more likely it's going to be that the control deck, the Labyrinth deck, comes out on top.
See, I don't know, saying that, it's, despite everything that's happened, Gabriel still has got 5 cards in hand, Temple established, and now we're just keep recycling and renewing these monsters out of the graveyard here. So again, like, why is Snake Eye so good? It's because it does everything. Full end fields. It cannot be understated just how powerful the grind game is for this deck, even against something like Labyrinth, which, you know, after picking apart Gabe's field multiple times, Gabriel can just keep re-establishing and keep floating and bringing monsters back, and that's what he's trying to do here, and see if he can, if there's any tools remaining to try and deal with back row.
I was going to say, like, counterpoint, if Pierre summons a
big lady here.
a lady.
Yeah, we're going to be maybe in a bit of trouble, especially with Flamberge now gone.
Yeah, for sure. Like, dealing with Lady Alonia could be a problem. And there we go. We just go into the battle phase. And then Welcome Labyrinth gets Ash, though. There is a big Welcome Labyrinth to support it, though, as well. So that would have been a moment now where that Appaloosa still would have been kind of nice, but we already went through Appaloosa. So this time, the Lady Labyrinth is going to summon itself to the field.
Yeah, Gabriel probably kicking himself for getting rid of that Appaloosa. I mean, it's not that helpful against Labyrinth, but in this case it would have been absolutely clutch.
Yeah, just preventing that large body from getting onto the field here, and well, dealing with a targeting and destruction protected lady.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, this might be a bit of a problem, especially, you know, access code would have been a great side deck option for going second, you know, so.
Totally. I mean, you were just saying that Gabriel has still 5 cards in hand, has a very, very big advantage in terms of card advantage in general, but none of his options really seem promising here, honestly. Look, we're linking into a Hita, and that Hita doesn't have a target in the opponent's graveyard, and therefore is not going to provide great value here for him either. Just was a way to get that Poplar off the field to put the Snake Eye Diabellstar into the Spell and Trap Zone again.
Interesting. Maybe Gabe could have done this in his main phase 1 if he'd had the Diabellstar attacking. Doesn't that answer the lady?
3,000, right?
Yeah, but it's got an effect. It puts them both in the Spell and Trap card zone.
But that doesn't target? Does it target? I'm not sure whether that targets, actually.
Surely it doesn't, because it's just whatever monster it's attacking.
Probably, you're right, yeah.
I mean, maybe some older cards, like Dimensional Prison, used to target attacking monsters, but I don't really see the newer cards do so often.
Was that really your go-to example there? Was Deep Prison?
Armor?
Stop blaming Tom. We're all getting older at this point.
What other cards are there that target attacking monsters? Mirror Force used to target attacking monsters. I don't know if it does anymore,
Wait,
but it
what?
used to. Yeah.
Mirror Force used to target?
It used to target, yeah.
But I mean, I can confirm that definitely the Snake Eye Diabellstar does not target. I just double-checked, so that would have indeed been a pretty good way of dealing with the lady there. So I totally agree with you. Getting the Snake Eye Diabellstar out in main phase 1 would have been very, very likely, because that was one of the most likeliest scenario. We already knew about the Welcome Labyrinth. We had an Ash Blossom and Joy Spring for that, so the possibility of the big Welcome Labyrinth.
To punish on that, yeah.
Totally. So there could have been a way to play around that. Okay, but we just keep on playing. Gabriel playing the challenge through of using every single extra deck card that he has. I mean, there's like 6 or something left there, and looks like we're going into Fiendsmith sequence there. I mean,
counting the extra deck.
Doing the extra deck again.
No, not again. Pierre, are you bluffing us this time, or is it an equation cannon this time for real?
Or is it another
trap
on the
trick,
field
maybe?
here? Yeah, I mean, any other way to access simultaneous equation or hard drawing it. The lady is already on the field here, but it's important to recognize there is a risk involved with lady being with using your set card with lady here, because it means you will remove that targeting protection. That's really important to make sure that we can keep that up.
Ooh, and we are fusioning here.
I mean, Gabriel's got to achieve something, because at the end of the day, that big welcome's going to be in the graveyard.
There is Desiree coming down again. So as you just said, now we have an opportunity to interact with the lady all of a sudden, as soon as that set card is going to be activated there.
Well, you have to wait until Desiree's been equipped with something, because at the moment, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, so Pierre is actually considering that right now, and if he wants to get that lady interaction off and going, he would need to do it now, or he waits until his own turn again, when he could set another card to the Spell and Trap Zone. But that is potentially still far away from him, so maybe just doing it now is the better way of handling the situation. So
Counting
Pierre, he
the,
definitely is counting. I would be very surprised if this is not an equation cannon. Come on, Pierre. Show it to us. We haven't seen it resolving yet, so can we please just see it resolving now? We've talked about it so much.
Could be another trap trick.
Oh, but it's fine. It's actually fine.
Yeah.
He's still got more time, though. He can still let this sequence get into the graveyard
I mean,
and then activate it.
I don't know how comfortable you feel with 6 minutes on the clock, being down on life points and down a game, but I think time is actually a concern right now for Pierre, and he will have to act quickly here.
Yeah, it's a massive concern, and especially going second into this Fiendsmith deck, you really, you can just take that burn damage.
Yeah, that as well. Now we're going to use...
He is considering the track to fuse here into the Lacrima.
Yeah, that rarely happens, actually. The graveyard effect of track isn't used that commonly, but seems like we may just do that here. Yeah, there we go. Using the graveyard... Oh, giving up the Desiree, interestingly enough.
That's a strange thing to do.
Giving up the Desiree and bringing out the Lacrima instead.
I mean, it's reasonable maybe just to value the damage to your opponent's life points in this situation,
Potentially,
right?
yeah. Also, I mean, let's not forget, the opponent's monster, they lose attack points permanently through Lacrima. So maybe that is his way of dealing with the situation. You're saying, hey, your lady is only going to be 2400, and therefore you can't attack over certain monsters anymore.
I had no idea that it reduced.
Yeah, it's the first sentence of the card, but yeah, it so rarely comes up. Yeah, it so rarely comes up, but here that might be a situation where it helps. A good way to avoid that for Pierre would be just to leave that lady in defense position, to be fair, though, because still there is no monster big enough for Gabriel to deal with that just now.
But he's got to find a way to deal some damage, though, right? He's 1,500 life points behind.
Yeah, that's the issue. Is I think the ball is really in Pierre's court here to try and move something forward, because Gabriel makes the Lacrima here just to prevent the lady from being bigger than, I suppose, Diabell Star would be like the bigger choke point here of losing a lot of life points.
Oh, it was the cannon all along. Okay, and we finally have found the spot apparently to activate it.
All right, well, I hope someone has a calculator at hand here, because this is going to be something really important to verify.
We have Tom in the booth, so we are good to go, so let's see. Oh, but we're chaining the Druid Swarm here from Gabriel, so I think he's trying to find a way
to manipulate the number of cards he controls.
Totally.
No, it doesn't matter how many cards he
That's
controls.
the thing, yeah.
He's just switching off the...
it's the combination,
stopping Pierre from chaining the lady.
Oh, true, it just... Yeah, true. Lady can't be chained here, but still, all of these cards should be gone soon. Let's see. We're doing the math right now. I mean, we had much time to figure out the math, but finally we have found a situation where it is appropriate to use this card now. Pierre needing 2 XYZ monster and a fusion monster, and looks like he has found a combination that is suitable. How many cards do we have in total here? I mean, that's a lot for Gabriel there. Is that
I'm guessing
11?
there's 9?
9. It's not. Yeah. No, it's 10, I believe. Should be 10 because it was Hugin plus 2 rank 4s.
Oh, were they rank 4s? Yeah, okay, 10. Okay.
So, is it the wrong formula? Do the numbers
No, he's
not...
using the Lacrima as well.
Oh, is that a quick effect?
No, sorry, it's the Desiree effect I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Lacrima just shuffles a Light Fiend from your grave and then deals 12 when it's sent to the grave.
No, when it's summoned, it's got an effect to summon something. But there's also the Desiree that's being activated too, which is very important.
Ooh, so he's recurring it to his hand, yeah, with the Lacrima.
Oh, I see. It doesn't target the Lacrima? I guess not.
Oh, so
target a Light Fiend that is banished or in your grave and add it to your hand, or special it.
So are we just going to...
He's bringing back the Desiree here.
Wait,
yeah.
the equation cannon is already in the graveyard.
Yeah.
What happened here?
Well, I guess what happened is the reveal wasn't at the number it needed to be on the resolution of the monsters being then brought onto the field.
So did he just misresolve it? Because did he not have the right?
Well, I think it's because Gabe has manipulated the field, and Pierre's reveal didn't equal the math behind what he needed it to be, right?
Yeah, but you choose what you banish when you resolve the equation.
Is it
right?
is it like reveal on resolution? Is that how it works? Or?
Yeah, it
okay.
absolutely is.
So did we just miss? Have we performed an incorrect equation?
I mean,
guess
the
second part is optional, so maybe Pierre just decides to not resolve the second part of the card by returning the cards again and then banishing the entire field, because we're revealing as the first part, and then you can optionally go over to the second part. And apparently that part was skipped here, and the game is over. And Gabriel Netz is moving on with an undefeated 2-0 record here in the points playoff, giving himself a chance, a good chance of actually making it into that top 4. Because speaking about the general procedure we have here, it's 4 rounds of Swiss, then followed by top 4. And those top 4 players are already kind of in a good position, because 3 of them are going to make it to the World Championship, of course.
That was that game, by the way, the way that Gabriel navigated through that second phase there after going into battle, getting chump blocked by the lady to then make the Desiree and then bring it back later with the Lacrima to then establish the negate thereafter for the potential top deck, and then something must have happened with the manipulation of the simultaneous equation.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and look and try and figure out what happened.
Use the calculator to figure out what went wrong there. I mean, that was absolutely the turning point. I mean, if simultaneous equation had resolved and we had revealed the right number of cards, I think that would have been it.
Yeah, I think
absolutely.
you send the cards at the time that you resolve it, so I'm a little confused. Maybe he just chose the wrong cards. I can't really see how else it worked out. But.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we're going to find out later on. Pierre still having a chance to go through into top 4. If he just wins the last 2 rounds, I think he might still end up being 3rd or 4th. So maybe we will see him back then in those top 4 matches. So you are going to find out, of course, very, very soon. That was round number 2 of the World Championship points playoff. So see you for more live content of the European Championship here in Berlin.